All right, Ryan Christian, the one and only, back to talk about how he has created his own YouTube competition, right, Ryan? SuperU.net. Tell me about
Well,
SuperU.net.
first off, I want to make it clear that, definitely something that I have been maybe like at least now the public face of because I've been talking about it and getting it out there. But this is not I'm a consultant on this project. Let's make that, very clear. And
Okay.
in no way am I financially tied to it either. That's important to note, right? This is just something that the creator of this, the backer of this, who's a supporter of my work, has seen me removed and deleted. And so reached out and said, hey, we're doing this. And, I'd like your input. And I said, absolutely. Right. I'm in this for altruistic reasons, whether people want to believe me or not. I believe in what this is trying to accomplish. And it is something that has been put together by just an outstandingly talented team. And they're creating something that's never really been done before. Right. This has been built in a way that it's been built to defend against what will inevitably come. And by the way, which is already happening, which is aggressive attacks coming from, of our opinion, from exactly the people you might think, right? A really high level attacks trying to bring this thing down from the moment this went live.
Okay, before we get to the attacks, tell me how this is different than other platforms that have come out to say, screw you to YouTube.
Right. Well, so this has been designed in a way that is without really getting into proprietary information. This is built in a way that has multiple locations. And so the way I've analogized, the person who came up with this idea doesn't really like the analogy of comparing it to something like BitTorrent, but I find it to be a good analogy for people to understand it, right? For BitTorrent is something where is internet concept where instead of having like a centralized server, if everyone's individual computer serves as a data storage of content, right? So let's say I'm doing a video about COVID-19. The government says, we don't want that video down. All they can do is reach out to the current data storage on your computer and remove it. But then the system immediately notices, it picks it up at a different computer's location and keeps it seamlessly running. So they would have to arguably delete it on everybody's computer anywhere that's involved with that system, right? It's almost impossible to stop. So in this sense, it's about it's built in a way that creates multiple locations of storage in regard to the entire catalog. And the idea is to seamlessly be able to move, and it's so far working well between any one of these locations. So if they were to come at you and attack, they would have to do it simultaneously across multiple locations, which we're going to continue to grow, right? So it's built in a way that we believe is almost impossible to stop.
And what about the issue of the device itself, the Apple issue that Parler faced, for instance, or Amazon?
Great question. Now, if you're talking like the device itself, like actually using an Apple phone to view it, that's really nothing we can ever get away from unless we choose to no longer use Apple. But your point about the App Store, which is what I believe you're getting at there with Parler, that's the choke point. And that's why a lot of new platforms, including SuperU, is not even getting involved with the App Store. Right. It's not, we don't need to. Here's the interesting thing about apps in general. Like, unless you're getting an app like a calculator or something that creates, mapping this or organizing your day or whatever, an app for a platform is sort of irrelevant because all you can do is go to your home screen on your computer or on your phone and just put add to home screen. Put SuperU. Then you've got a button right there for an app. You hit SuperU. It brings you right to the platform. SuperU has been created to be completely. It's what's the right term? Adaptable is not the right term. People in the computer world will know that, responsive, to where the site perfectly works on an Apple or an iPhone or any kind of device without needing some sort of Apple store to be able to remove you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. So it almost seems like these other platforms, a lot of them anyway, or whatever it is we're talking about, maps, that if you were to do it using, say, one of the internet, what do you call them? Like whatever the internet explorer device, like Safari or Firefox or whatever. What do we call that? What is that called?
Browser.
A browser. Thank you. So yeah, it seems like when you're using your phone, it's set up so that it's just easier to use the app than it is to use the browser oftentimes. And maybe that's why it is that way, because then we'll download the app and they can spy on us more. I'm not really sure, or they have more control over us.
But I would argue, though, if I could just add on the app part, that think about what the difference. If you want to make an app for a platform, let's say, they would argue that you need to completely recreate your setup to adapt to some kind of an app. Right. So it's its own platform kind of thing, as opposed to just literally having the platform already be responsive and just click to right to the site. And that's the interesting part, is that's not necessary, because what it creates is a choke point of these powerful platforms that we can do exactly what we've seen. Just pull a plug. and suddenly say, well, no longer, we don't like Parler. You can't do that. You can't, that won't happen with something like this.
So, okay, tell me here, I don't know what just happened. Okay, here we go. So this is what is live on your on the site right now on superu.net. And so that's how this all works. Like you go to the home screen and then you'll see whatever is live streaming at the time. Like just give me, I guess, kind of the breakdown on what you're going to see when you go there.
Well, so first, so SuperU is an invite-only platform to begin. And that was done for very specific reasons, because we want to make sure that the people we're bringing on, and there's a team behind the scenes that are all that basically each have a vote, and we decide on who we want to bring onto the platform to begin. Now, to understand, there's plenty of people on this platform already that I don't necessarily agree with politically, right? The whole point is it's about having multiple perspectives and different opinions. Now, we brought them on for the reason to find people we felt as the team were credible, that had resource, objective reporting. So it's not, they can't attack this as some kind of fringe, ridiculous site, which they will anyway. And now these people have already been onboarded, and we only have about 5 or 6 people currently. You can see the Duran right there. Now, the way the platform works, this is the homepage. Now, the carousel you can see right there is designed to always show the most current content. So if you can scroll back up to the top, there's the point is that so Duran has the most currently uploaded video. If anyone is live streaming at any point, that dominates and immediately jumps in, and that'll be the front and center. So hypothetically, if there are 5 people streaming, it will show on the carousel in order of who went streaming most recently, right? So I kind of like that, because you can always see who's currently going, with their live streams. Beneath that, trending like anything else. Now you'll find that this has literally everything that SuperU does, or excuse me, that YouTube does, and no other site has that. Everything you would expect from SuperU, including live streaming, scheduling, uploading, embeds, and there's a lot of features that we're already getting from people that they want to be added that we already had planned to add. Go ahead.
I was listening to one of your streams yesterday, and you were talking about getting to have like the super chat idea too at some point,
right?
And that's not there yet, but that you're going towards that.
Right. And the only reason that's the case, now there was a lot of decisions that were made during this process, as people know, that there's inevitably bugs when you're doing something like this. There are things that come up that you must be fixed and you must organize. And there's a lot that happened throughout this process. We wanted to be live 6 months ago. Now, we decided, based on what's going on in the world right now, that we just simply could not wait anymore to make sure this thing was complete. So what we decided was we picked out things that we knew we could push off in order to get this live as fast as possible. So what we did is we said, well, the payment gateway is one of the most important things, because why we're doing this is to make sure people can be funded for their work. But is it more important to wait another month, 2 months to make sure that's integrated and working, or to keep working on it behind the scenes and release this now without it? And we agreed. Politically speaking, we all see that what's happening in the world right now is monumental, right? We're in a bad way. So we pushed this out early without the payment gateway. So already in the works, we have tips, which is going to be one of the first ones to come out, which is just a direct send donation at any point to anybody at any time, right? And that's what's great about it. You can just send you $100 or $10, just like a PayPal thing or anything else. Then we're going to be adding what we call SuperU shouts. So it's a super chat, same idea. And it's the same thing. During a show, you can give them any number you want. And in fact, the number goes higher than YouTube will allow. And you can do the same thing. You give them a number, give them an amount, the chat goes on the top, it's pinned to the top. It's the same concept. My idea, why I was trying to drive this, is not to recreate the wheel. We don't need to make this some completely different concept. People are familiar with it. We all liked YouTube before they became an authoritarian censorship monster, right? We liked what they were doing because they built it for us before they realized that they didn't like us anymore, right? So we made this the way that it would still be functioning, the way that we are familiar with. Then we also have tiered subscription stuff. Now, this is what I really like, because you can work this in a way where you can create new content, and people can all see the content everywhere else, but you can say, well, this is special. We're going to give this a $2.99 one-time pass if you want to see this content. So it gives people the ability to market a different way, but you can also just not put content in there and be like, hey, you want to subscribe to me for $10 a month? Just subscribe to this tier. That is exactly what Patreon does. So Patreon's obsolete if you have this ability to go directly to the channel and give them $10 a month, or a one-time donation, or a super chat, right? Super shout. Now, it's also important to know that this platform is free for everyone all the time. That's been something I keep forgetting to say on my show. Memberships are something that we have, and that will be more important once the payment gateway is integrated. But right now, no matter what, and forever, Anybody can see any video at any time. You can share any video at any time, right? That's one of the issues I think with ROKFIN that people don't like, is that you need to literally sign up before you can even watch something. That's frustrating. Nobody really likes that. And I get why they do it. It's more about monetizing it for the people. And I get that. This is more about defending free speech and getting the content out there, you know? So you can sign up right now, no matter what. But the difference is, once the payment gateway comes, you're going to have to pay $1.99 going forward if you want to be able to comment. That's the only difference. And the reason we did that, and we thought, I was a little on the fence about this, but we decided that it will minimize the type of manipulation, the trolls and all that, because people will still pay $1.99 to be able to troll, but it'll probably lessen it, and it'll benefit everybody when they do. So
yes, I have those. Actually, it's interesting because one of the platforms I'm on is Locals, and you have to have a subscription in order to comment and like, and that was the original idea, I guess, was to, you know, hey, people that hate you are not going to pay you to, but
they
no,
will.
they do.
They will. Yeah,
they do.
But you get paid for it, at least, you know.
Some people will hate you that much, but that's okay. I'll be crying all the way to the bank. All right. So tell me some of the, well, I want you to talk about who's on this right now, but could you go back to the critiques or the attacks, I guess you were saying, that you've already faced with this?
Yeah, it's been pretty intense. I mean, look, attacks will always happen, right? Anybody that runs a WordPress page or any kind of thing, you see all the phishing, and you know, look, the thing says 1,000 attacks yesterday, you know, and most of those are a little overblown because of the company wants to make it look like they're doing a good job. But we all know that there are attacks that come in on websites, and that's just like almost automated. But what our dev team is talking about is, and we've gone over all of them just to make sure we're all on the same page, is we're talking that, of course, but then we're seeing some very high level attacks, both like DDoS attempts to try to bring the site down with too many attacks. You know, if you're familiar with that, they basically overwhelm the system with enough, you know, like if you had 1,000 computers at once, all trying to click the same button at the same time, and you kind of freeze the whole platform. And we have that, but we've had ones that they feel are almost impossible, to not get too into it. That, I mean, I'm not that in depth in the technical knowledge, but that they feel are 100% by something like a high level attempt from that you would need lots of resources to try to attempt to bring down the entire platform. And our defenses work the way we built it, right? So there's all sorts of redundancies and you know, and not to get too deep into that, but this has been built in a way. And this, what I think is important for people to understand, is spared no expense, right? Peter Allard is the he runs the Allard Prize, right? It's something you guys can look up. And Glenn Greenwald got one of these awards in the past. It's about honoring independent media, right? So this is what he's very passionate about, this whole thing. And he has gone out of his way to take action that I don't think any other company would have done in a time where it's like, well, we're doing this purely because it's the right thing to do for free speech, and it's going to add another God knows what to the bottom line, right? At a time when we're not even making profit yet, you know, and that is something I feel like has really motivated me to see this as, at least as we stand now, a project that has the intentions in the right place. You know, it's all about protecting these people.
When you say they, who's they, when you're talking about like they are overwhelming the system, or they?
Oh, well, I mean, just a generalized, you know, what I always jokingly say is the acronym is the hierarchy enslaving you. That's what they stand for. But, you know, just it's one of those terms that's, and you're actually right in pointing that out. It's, we shouldn't be so freely just they, because it's a term I'm saying just for people out there maliciously trying to manipulate the website. But, you know, look, if we're going to try to be real about this, we have seen undeniable things coming from groups that work with Google and these platforms that are like, let's say we're using something and they've gone out of their way to try to attack it from a way that makes us not able to use that, or and that product's not even Google connected. But that's one thing to point out. We have gone out of our way, like obnoxiously so, to use only things that are no way connected to these platforms, which is almost impossible to do today. You know, and that's hard. Even the payment gateway, you know, we've gone to ways that we're trying to work with these new kind of striving companies that may eventually go to the dark side, like they all do. But at the moment, you know, we're going out of our way to make sure that this is not, what's the word, vulnerable to Google or YouTube or some other platform they control, pulling the plug or undermining what we're doing, you know. Because we see, this is the thing, is that we see the reality of what's going on today. People don't, the first company that a long time ago when I was first brought in on this, the first company we talked to, we were very clear. It's about privacy. It's about free speech. These people are being censored by let's not pretend like we don't see this. They're being censored by Google, by YouTube, right? So they are clearly trying to control the information. These people heard what we said and then came back with Google, Microsoft, Amazon. And we're like, did you even hear what we said? Like, they didn't grasp. They thought we were a bunch of conspiracy theorists and they didn't believe what we were saying, right? Now we see that's very real, right? So now this is the point, is we've gone out of our way, even gone to new companies to work with to make sure that this is as secure as possible. And hopefully the real world will show that, you know?
I admit I'm having a tiny bit of a difficulty paying attention because I know this guy is talking about Bill Gates' divorce right now, and I really want to know the dirt. Um, so I don't know. Maybe we should just do this another time. No, just kidding. But if you want to know about Bill Gates' divorce, you could go on superu.net and see who is this guy that's talking about it right now.
This is the Duran. That's
the Duran. Okay,
Christoph. Well, that's funny. Just to comment on that, like, I don't even understand. I think that is such a revealing thing, right? So ask yourself why, first of all, not the divorce, but the announcement of the pending divorce is everywhere. Every mainstream outlet, the New York Times, the Washington Post. I got 1,000 breaking news alerts the moment that was announced. Now, we're supposed to think Bill Gates is just a philanthropist, right? He's just a guy that's working to help. But no, he's clearly like the most important thing in the world to these people, right? So,
oh, yeah.
It's hilarious to me that we're, with everything going on in their narrative, the biggest pandemic in a century, and every news outlet in the country is talking about Bill Gates announcing his divorce.
Yeah,
That's so stupid to me.
Yeah. Well, no, he was kind of like, when I was in Seattle, he's sort of like the Mr. Rogers of Seattle. Like, if I wonder sometimes if he would just untie his shoes when he goes on TV or something, you know,
That's
people
funny.
could even like him more. I don't know if it's possible, but yeah, he rarely gets any tough questions from anybody in mainstream news. And, okay. So on this note, I wanted to say the reason I brought up they is because I have kind of a funny story. Back when I lived in Seattle, I got to go to I think it was a Seahawks game. And so at, very far away from the stadium, they already have security people, and they had made this rule that you had to have a certain size bag. And so mine was like a little bit bigger. And so they said, the security people said, they're going to take that from you when you get closer. And I go, who's going to? The NFL. So they said, I go, okay, where is the NFL? Well, those people up there, they're going to take it from you. I go, okay, I'll take my chances. I go to the next level. They're going to take that from you. They're going to take that from you if you get any closer. I just letting you know, you may want to run it back to your car. I go, who's they? Like, I just made it past the last people. Who's that? The NFL. Okay, I'm going to take my chances. I now get to the metal detector, the wand thing. They're like, hey, when you get in, they're going to take it from you. And I'm like, who's they? The NFL. Okay, where is the NFL? Like, what does that even mean? And so I get in, and like, I kept my purse the entire time. The NFL, like, apparently either doesn't exist or it's a made up thing, but I don't know what the bigger lesson is there. That taught me, though, to always ask, who is they? Because you'll see the security people constantly telling you, you better get rid of that or else. And you're like, who's going to do it?
That's an interesting point. Like, the message I take from that is that even they, the real they, use the illusion of they to keep you on your toes, to make you go, oh, they're going to do so. Oh, and the point is, I bet you those people telling you they're going to take it don't even know that that's not true. Right. It's like this mechanism where they're like, uh-oh, it's coming down the line. Right.
It is really kind of a great anecdote for like mainstream news. Like a lot of the journalists that I work with, like, they're going to take it. It's going to be bad. And you're like, why? Like, I'm looking over my shoulders and I'm trying to figure out.
They said so, right?
They said so. Who's they? The NFL. Like, okay. So anyway, that's my little story. Okay, so let's talk about who's on SuperU.
Yeah. So I could tell you so far who has actually started is the Duran, Conversations That Matter, Rebel News, obviously The Last American Vagabond. I believe that's all that's actually jumped on so far. The Duran, I think I said, but we've invited a bunch more, and really it's just about their we're all very busy too. There's a lot of people out there that have said absolutely they're interested, and rightly so. Someone like James Corbett, for instance, who we've invited, but has seen these things come and go. Like, I get it. Like, he has, James probably gets 1,000 emails a day about something new, somebody they want him to be a part of,
Right.
And so, I've given the information, and it's just about whether he probably just wait to see this thing flesh out. And I get that. High Impact Flicks has been invited. Spiro, these are people that, expressed interest, and it's just, as it grows, I'm sure people will jump on. We've also gotten a pretty strong onslaught of people that are interested in joining. But the team in general is very adamant about, the original grouping we want to start, and just kind of wait it out and see, test its metal, make sure it's working the way we want it to, you know, because the whole point was, again, that we did sort of, not cutting corners is the wrong word. We put off different things intentionally so that we could get this live. And so, you know, bringing these things in, we just want to make sure that everything is working properly as we do so. It's in the interest of everybody that's going to use it, you know, because it will be exploited. Every weakness or every issue that they think they see will be exploited by the people that want to undermine what this is. You know, because this is dangerous. I mean, we need to realize, to the people that are trying to control the narrative, this represents like the biggest danger out there. So does BitChute, so does the rest of them, right? We are a danger to what they're trying to do. And something like this that is able to have embeds and live streaming, and, you know, so you can function like, for someone like me, the only reason that I've continued to use like YouTube, for instance, on like my website when I send the thing out, is because there's literally no other platform that has an embed that you can put in before you go live. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of these little things like that. So I would have to do my show and then share it afterward, as opposed to being able to share it out and then everyone joins the live stream, you know? So that this platform has all of those things, and they're going to be unhappy about that the more this grows. And to have someone like, for instance, Rebel News, who's got millions of followers, I mean, that's going to make some splashes, you know? And that's ultimately why I said that in the beginning, is that politically speaking, I mean, even the Duran, for instance, I mean, I've got a lot of things that I don't see eye to eye with a lot of the people that we've invited on, but it's so important that we look past our own political opinions and just make sure we embrace the concept of free speech and people that are willing to fight for that, you know? And that's important to understand. And as well, as I said before, it's a group decision, people voting on who comes in. You know, I just have ultimately one vote, but I think it's already good to see these people coming on and continuing to press the envelope. Because if you actually look at what they're talking about, most of these people are already talking about things that you would think would be challenging what YouTube would want you to say.
Have you all had any issues with the government or governments of other countries or anything like that at this point?
No, the only thing I would say so far has been a little bit of some small things in regard to Canadian versus the United States law, right? Because it's basically rooted in multiple locations, right? And so right now, technically, I believe it's a Canadian company, right? But we're transacting in US dollars. Like the effort was to make this more of like an international kind of, and it will the more that it grows out. But I foresee something. Right. We're going to probably have, like, right now, for instance, we know like the ODYSEE, for instance, is being attacked baselessly under some kind of SEC effort, right, to make their security, like the LB, the cryptocurrency security. And obviously we're not cryptocurrency or blockchain based, but that is a baseless attack, right? So will they come after this? About what we're concerned about actually is these new laws we've seen in Canada and the United States about hate speech and things like that. Because right now, that's one of the big things too. If you look at the actual community guidelines, because I was hugely involved in that, and that was a big deal for me to make sure that this was. You can actually see it. Right, I click that and then go down to terms and privacy. Down there you go, right there. Okay. And you know, it's all one page. You can just scroll and look through all four of those things, and it is basic, right? You won't see the term hate speech even mentioned in here, right? It's about law, and that's it, right? I mean, even I would have issues with some things that I think are not just laws, but that's a different discussion. But the point is, in here, it's about the same basic things that we all generally agree on, right? You can't come on here and post murder. You can't show child pornography, right? It's real basic stuff. But if you can come on here and talk about whatever you want, however you want, right? Within what we've listed here. And if you go through it, it's something we all agree on, you know? And that's one thing, and it's very engageable. There's always a human person you could talk to here, right? They will get back to you, human, not some YouTube algorithm that's going to send you some boilerplate response. You know, I feel very good about where this stands at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like these are the prohibited acts right here, right? So.
And if you look through them, I mean, it's all stuff that you would expect, right? You know, you can't come on here and, you know, I recommend everybody take the time to read through this. And if there is something that you say, hey, wait a minute, this could be abused by, you know, I mean, here's the thing too, is that I'm of the opinion that SuperU as a team is so focused on the idea of not, you know, creating a space like this that's about free speech that I don't think that they're ever going to have an issue. But no, they don't know these people. So rightly, there should be skeptical, like I always say. So if you see something that you're going, wait a minute, that might be abused, email me or email SuperU, and we'll consider it. And I will probably get back to you myself.
Interesting. Ryan, is there anything else about SuperU that you want to talk about before I ask you a couple other questions on COVID et al?
You know, I just think it's important for people to recognize that we are getting attacks right? That's pretty damn constant at this moment, which it doesn't mean that it's realistically, it shouldn't be affecting anything on the website, but know that that is happening. And even if something does happen or goes down, it's not, we are dedicated to this, and we will build it and continue to create it in a way that won't be hurt in that kind of effort, by attacks. But this is all about free speech, and that's what we need to support today. I just don't see any other way. But I think we need to continue to support any platform that's doing this. SuperU, ODYSEE, right? All of them. But I just find this one to be the most all-encompassing when it comes to actually competing with YouTube. That's why I'm, proud of it. I think it's a good platform.
And you have your own website, so it's not necessarily like you need this. So are you going to continue on your site, ROKFIN, the other places you are, plus this?
Oh yeah. That's what, see, Duran is doing the same thing. And we talked about that when we first talked about them with the demo, is that, I've never had the intention to just it's not about making sure this one thing succeeds. This is an important part of it, but it's about the information, and this being a conduit to get that information out in a way that won't be suppressed. So I'm going to spread this everywhere. This is what I keep telling people. I'm going to continue to punch this through using the pirate streams that I talk, as I call it, on YouTube. I'm not going to promote them anymore. I'm not going to probably even share the link anymore, but I'm going to do it so that people can see it on YouTube, because they're going to delete it right away anyway. But yeah, ROKFIN, ODYSEE, BitChute, all of them. I'm going to stream constantly on all of them, like I always have.
The funniest thing I heard yesterday when I was listening to your stream about what's going on your YouTube channel is that they gave you that 100,000 subscriber channel back, but they just lost some of your videos or something, right?
Yeah. They deleted it. I mean, it's hard to know for sure. I don't know the full number. I forget, but it looks like about half the content is gone. And, which is strange, because a lot of them in there are things that you might think that they wouldn't want you to say, but you will notice, and this is the most obvious part of it, that the ones that are very clearly gone are all the most scientifically rooted discussions. All the ones that are like, here's the source material, here's what the NIH said 2 years ago, and, and here's what the mass, and of course, that's what they don't allow, remember. If you back up what you're saying with source material, that's when it becomes fake news, misinformation. But they also, if for a long time, even still, there's weird functions on there that I can't do. Like, they won't let me add certain things on certain playlists. It's just very strange. And so I don't consider it my channel anymore. It's just another sanitized channel by YouTube. I'm just going to use intermittently. But I also noticed that despite people still subscribing, it has been absolutely locked at 100,000 even for, long before it, but even after. But what's interesting is when they took it the first time, it was over 100,000. So now it's just locked at 100,000. They're clearly doing this for some strange reason, and it's not to help TLAV or to be honest at all.
What an adventure. I will give you props for continuing to fight the battle. Actually, one last question on this note. When people, or if people say, I've gotten this, so I don't know if you've heard this before, but hey, you should be more careful. If you're going to be on YouTube, you should be more careful. There's guidelines, and there's this, and use keywords that are not going to set off the red flags for them, and just don't do those videos for YouTube. Or to me, I guess, I don't know. It seems like self-censorship and exactly not the way I would want to play the game. But curious, what do you think about that?
It's not that is self-censorship. It doesn't matter how you think about it. You're choosing to censor what you would say because YouTube won't like it. Now, I understand, let's say somebody who runs a video game channel, right? I get making a choice like that. If you have kids and this is how you make your money, I don't agree with it in any sense of your life. I never agree with self-censorship. I do understand why some people would do it. Leave it at that. But in regard to whether, that you choosing to do that is a win for them. That's why they're doing this. That's why I was watching this other video about some gamer, or no, he was a skateboarder who had his entire channel removed 4 years ago, just like with me, except mine wasn't that long. And he just randomly got his channel back. And he goes on and he's like, thank you, YouTube. I won't do that again. And it's just yuck. It just makes a skin crawl. It's so they succeeded. They got you to realize what you can't do. They trained you. That's how Patreon, that's how they're all doing it. No, you delete the content. We'll wait for you. Right. They want to train you what not to do. So in my opinion, we should never self-censor. Now, look, can you lose your channel? Of course you can. But that's not in their community guidelines. Right. If you actually look at what their guidelines are, by stating things that are scientifically supported, you're literally not outside their guidelines. They just don't like certain things scientifically cited or not. Right. And so they choose to pretend that what you said was medical misinformation. Right. So they're violating their own guidelines. So to self-censor to appease this subjective mechanism is absurd. I mean, that to me, that's just like you win, you do what you want, and I'll appease no matter what, I'll acquiesce no matter what. You know, that, I mean, I find that to be quite cowardly, in my opinion, especially with what's going on today. But you see why people are doing it, because I would argue people that make that choice to a certain degree are choosing the channel profit over the truth. Maybe truth is the close second, and that still makes it about, you know, they're still valuable for the truth, but they're choosing something over the truth. Right? I find today that's the last thing we should be doing.
How do you look at YouTube now as what its value is to what you do? For me, I kind of, I guess, look at it like a storefront window in some way. You know, it's for like, it's a little bit for window shopping, but not necessarily we're going to come and buy things or spend a lot of time. Probably I'm trying to get people to other platforms where I don't have to worry about getting booted. Like, how do you look at it as its value to what you do?
Well, I mean, value, I don't think I would even use that word today, because for me, if everybody were to leave, or at the very least, the YouTube was no longer the majority, right? That's where the majority of people are going to get content, I would stop using it altogether. I mean, that's what I keep telling people, is that if you're not a content creator and don't, you know, my mindset again is that I'm going to continue to get it on there just because that's what they want to stop. They don't want people over there to see what we're producing. But so I'm not going to do it in a way that promotes them or even promotes my channel. I'm going to get it out there for them to see it. Right. That is the most important thing. But I just think I lost my train of thought there. But I think ultimately, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, I guess to clarify, meaning why still utilize YouTube? Like, why use it at all? And for me, it's just like, it seems like, you know, it still has a large user base and a diverse user base. And sometimes, you know, these other platforms are still struggling with, you know, only a certain, you know, thinking type of person, whatever the ideology of, or, you know what I mean? It just seems like those of us who are on the people who are already on ROKFIN or whatever are probably already aligned with the kind of free speech mentality, but maybe the YouTube users are not already necessarily talking about that. It's just, it's such a large platform. It seems like there's more diversity of just user base there.
It's it's an assumption that you could make because of how many people are there, but I would almost argue the opposite, right? I mean, first of all, even ROKFIN, you might be surprised. Plenty of people on there that would argue that guy can't say that, and that's Republican or whatever, you know. And it's like, well, you know, there's a line there that everybody has what they believe free speech means, and then there are caveats for it today. A lot of people do. But that's ridiculous, because shall not be infringed and alienable, these things mean something, right? We can't just be like, oh, it works up until here, right? You have free speech and rights until COVID, right? It's like those caveats don't work, right? But so to your question about YouTube, my only point is that for people like us, it's valuable insofar as it can still reach those people who will not see it unless it's on YouTube. You know what I mean? You know, so I will do that so they see it. And hopefully they'll catch something and then jump over to watch you elsewhere. You know what I mean? And I keep telling people, get off the platform. If you're just watching content, there's no reason to be on YouTube. You're promoting and you're supporting the problem. But for people like us, it's good to still punch it through, because we need to reach those people. We don't just abandon the majority of people that are still completely lost. You know, we're only here, in my opinion, to continue to reach new people, to wake them up to the reality. And if we're just doing this to speak to the people we already agree with, well, then we're not doing this for the right reasons. At least what I see as the right reasons.
I forgot to ask you about how SuperU supports itself. Like, how is money generated on SuperU? I didn't see any ads or anything like that. Right. How does that work?
First of all, sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. I don't. It's super loud. No, sorry. But ultimately, right now, the financial support comes from Peter Allard and his financial backing of his platform. It's his passion project. I mean, it's something that he wanted to create. But in regard to the revenue coming in, there's nothing at this point. Right now, it's nothing. That's because we chose to get this out at cost to SuperU. That's what I was trying to say before. Just because we need this out, because he was so concerned about people like the Duran or the Rebel, people that have been censored. Like, I mean, maybe people in my circles might not know if they're not watching or following those channels, but there have been, I mean, it's crazy. In Canada, they've been censored from YouTube. They've been censored on multiple platforms. So they're clearly being attacked. And so he wanted to get something up quickly that they could keep the content going. And so that right now, every moment it's up is at cost directly to SuperU. But the point is we're getting as quickly as possible to get the payment gateway up and running. Then tips will be there. And that's a good question. I think the agreed upon financial split for SuperU and the individual was either 20 or something like that, or 25, with the point of it guaranteed to decrease as we find our footing, but it's less than YouTube was the point. All right. Mm-hmm. But remember, the whole point is this is at a time when we are already behind incredibly to get this up for everybody and to make sure that that is something that will at least generate some revenue to start. And then, of course, super chats and so on. We've also talked about the possibility, of course, because this is a business, if we get to a point to where it's clear that those things aren't producing enough to maintain just, sustainability financially, that we will talk about some kind of an advertising thing. But I was super adamant about this, that if we're going to do that, it's only people that we seek out ourselves, like a cannabis company, like a survival company, whatever that may be, a company that we feel is all supporting free speech and the privacy and the same thing, and then get them to work with us, and then allow the user themselves to have like a single button they can press to say, yes, I want ads in the beginning of the video, or no, I don't. And if you choose that, then you will have them and we're like not longer than 5 seconds, like only quick little things, and it would pop up under the bottom, and then you would get a share of that revenue in the same divvy we would have, like tips, right? Same idea, same concept. But this is down the line stuff. But these are all things that we're talking about to help revenue for the creator, as well as to keep SuperU functional, But the point is, no matter what, this is going to continue. I mean, that's the idea, is we'll make it work. But I've never seen a platform that would do this and err on the side of losing money to make sure that people had a platform to use. I mean, just think about what that means. I find that to be, inspiring almost, personally.